Hi, it's JP Rouja out on Nonsuch with Jeremy Madeiros out there in the background. Something interesting popped up during our health check yesterday. Cahows are generally monogamous and will stay tied as a pair to a nest throughout their life cycles. But generally when they are evicted or something happens to the nest, they may end up repairing and changing their mates, etc. Yesterday during a check on the CahowCam 2 nest, something became apparent that last year the female from that nest had disappeared, didn't come back, and the male had then attracted a new young mate this year. Generally, Cahows are very well synchronized. They'll return back on the nest, as we're proving on the cameras, within hours of each other, even though they've spent months apart at sea. But this year, because this was a new female, she ended up arriving back in the CahowCam 2 nest, as we saw on camera, earlier than usual, because generally the male and the previous female in that nest were some of the latest arrivals. Then within a day, another Cahow appeared, and they started, the courtship and mating processes, etc. And we'd thought, well, that's, pretty interesting that for some reason the male has shown up earlier than usual. But during the health check yesterday, we found out that it isn't actually the male from that nest.
E0296, this is a different bird. And that would explain why he came, the bird appeared so early. So he has the mate from the big male that's in there, but that male is a lot bigger. That male usually comes in, like I said, at anywhere from 420 to 450 grams, which is 100 grams more than this one is. Oh boy, I have a feeling if you're still here when the rightful owner comes back, it's the sort of thing, you have to let these things sort themselves out. In the end, you're going to have, a pair. But this is one of the things that they have to do in order to make sure that the strongest birds breed. So yeah, that's completely surprising. So this is not the rightful owner of this nest at all, like we've thought since he appeared. But it explains why this one turned up earlier than the other one normally does. Oh boy. That could lead to a really vicious fight when the other one comes back. And I don't see this bird winning because that other bird is a giant of a Cahow. Hello, everybody. Yeah, well, I'm here with Haley from BioQuest at the entrance of the CahowCam 2 nest. There's a real question now as to this chick, which is now hatched and is growing like crazy. We're not sure if the resident male from here is the father or if it was this bird that came in, spent 4 days, and then was kicked out by Samson as soon as he returned. And that's what we can only answer that question by doing a Cahow paternity test, more or less, to see who the father is.
Yeah.
We want to, because this is a very rare thing. We have seen it before, but Cahows are usually very faithful monogamous birds that nest pair for life, and so this is a fairly rare event. So we really want to know what's happening here. So yeah, let's get the chick and we'll see how he or she looks right now. It's impossible to sex them until they're almost completely, developed and ready to fly out to sea. So at this point, it could be either or. Oh my gracious. We have a very fat little bird here.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
At this point is, I think, slightly less than 2 weeks of age.
Oh.
So yeah, really, I can feel his stomach feels like a little furry water balloon.
So
You want to
yes,
hold him?
I
The thing to
do.
do is cup your hands, make a cup as long as they feel like they're not going to fall.
Oh.
They're fine.
He's so soft.
They're incredibly soft. They have 2 layers of down, which the down is extremely well insulating, and it's why the parents can leave them within 4 hours of them being hatched. As soon as they dry out, they're able to generate enough heat to not need constant brooding by the parents. So this is the chick that we are uncertain of its who the father is, more or less. We need to look at the paternity and such. And the way that we're going to do that is when this chick, about 2.5, 3 months from now, when it's almost full grown, is that we're going to have to take a blood sample from it. And, BioQuest will be able to take a look. I think we already have a blood sample for Samson, possibly. I'm not sure about the other one, but we can see. But if need be, we can also do tests for that. And then we'd be able to tell right away who answered the big question of who's the daddy.
We can sequence and then find out who the parents are.
Exactly.
Well, who the father is.
Yeah. Who's your daddy, Mike? Yeah, he's like, I don't know. I'm just here waiting to be fed again.
To be fed again.
Yeah. Okay, so let me get him back in to the coolness of his nest.
I know it's really hot out here.
Okay, there we go.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, we have to come back. This was good. This was nice. Very interesting. Jeremy taught me a lot today. So with Jeremy's extensive note-taking and research and the sequencing and DNA, the genetic work we do at BioQuest, we are trying to fill those gaps in that Cahow family tree to understand, what's basically going on.
Yeah, I have to say that, this project, we've always tried to leverage new technology, new techniques, through it. I've been very, very open to that, because the exciting thing is that we can now, with our partnership with BioQuest, we can answer questions that we never could have answered before. Yeah. There's some things we just did not have the ability to do that, but we can finally get a good idea. And because this colony has only been recently begun, we only had the first chick produced here in 2009, and they hadn't nested here since the 1620s. So we literally have a clean slate, and we can see for the first time a wild population of colony growing from literally
nothing,
bird one, more or less. And now we're up to nearly 40 pairs this year. So, this colony is going from strength to strength, and it just indicates Nonsuch is the future of this species, because those little original nesting islands are failing under sea level rise and increased hurricane activity. So it's really important to find out what's going on here.
Like the epigenetic factors, what's going on.
Well, exactly, that's the thing. And how much is this happening? We don't know how important it is. Maybe it's beneficial in a way because you're mixing the genes more. Maybe it's detrimental, but that's the sort of things, it's providing answers to questions we don't even know we have yet.
So that's what I asked JP yesterday. If the family lines are ancestral, and he said that it might not necessarily affect it because it would just kill off. They wouldn't be fertile.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. The highly.
That means they're genetic.
It was a problem when we first started this project. I know when Dr. Wingate was doing this back in the 60s and 70s. Almost every year there were chicks that had deformities. They had misshaped like wing joints or deformed bills or feet. Those were the 3 most common deformations we were seeing, and any of those is the bird's not going to survive. As a clear sign there is inbreeding. But what we found through the translocation is that although the males 85% of the time return to the island of their birth, the females only return about 35 to 40%. And the females will check every single one of the 4 colonies they were to choose a mate. She's not absolutely grafted to that island. So rather than 4 tiny interbred, isolated populations, you had, the females were the ones that were keeping the genetics mixed as much as you could with 17 nesting pairs on the planet. And evidently it's when you get down to about 10 or less, that's where all the birds end up being inbred to a degree. And so it looks like right now we still have the vast majority of birds have multiple lineages,
Yeah, that's a good thing. So it's a lot of genetic variability.
That's right. Yeah. And I'll tell you, the last time I had a an obvious deformity was over 15 years ago now.
Okay.
So I think as
So
the
that's
population
good,
has
yeah.
grown, that the genetic diversity is also growing, you
Yeah.
know, with it. So
That's good.
that's a very lucky, fortunate point that we had. If we'd have gotten a little bit lower, or if management work had started like 5 years later, it may have been too late to save
yeah.
the species, you know. So, yep. So there's lots of questions, and we're looking forward to the answers. Yeah. So that's Jeremy, JP, and Haley from Nonsuch Island, Bermuda, and yeah, we all want to know the answer to the question: who's the daddy of this
Who's
little
the
chick?
daddy?
So have a good day, everyone.